The council chamber shimmered with quiet opulence. Tall columns of crystalline alloy pulsed gently with energy, casting reflections across the obsidian floor like a calm sea lit from beneath. 1,000 voices once roared here in the name of justice. But today, only one voice mattered. And it was laughing. Zorvok, Supreme Warden of the Galactic Axis and High Executor of Peace, threw his reptilian head back and let loose a jagged howl that echoed through the hall like broken machinery. 90 million. What a number. You could line their corpses end to end and still not reach the edge of your own arrogance. He wasn't speaking to anyone in particular, just basking in the aftermath. The live feed from the executions still hovered in the upper atmosphere, a visual chorus of ash and silence. 12 human colonies. 12 unarmed settlements. Gone. Counselor Tshyr, a spider-like diplomat from Zithra Prime, twitched her mandibles nervously. Wasn't the display excessive? Zorvok waved a clawed hand. Humanity needed a message. Consider it sent. Besides, they're always breeding more. At that moment, the main doors parted with a whisper, and he entered. The man did not wear armor, nor a robe, just a dark Earth-style suit, poorly tailored, wrinkled at the elbows, a coffee stain clinging, like memory, to his lapel. No guards, no fanfare, only a small silver thermos in one hand and a notebook in the other. He walked with a kind of unbothered calm that unsettled trained killers. "Apologies," he said, smiling faintly. Traffic near the wormhole was hell. Zorvoka's eyes narrowed. "And you are?" "Eli Mercer," the man said, voice gentle. "Terran ambassador. Human delegation." He gave a small bow, like a stage magician preparing his first trick. "Though, admittedly, I'm the only one left to delegate." Tshyr blinked. "You came alone." Eli unscrewed the lid of his thermos, poured tea into a collapsible cup, and took a delicate sip. "We thought it would be less dramatic." The chamber paused, unsure if this was sarcasm, threat, or just the maddening human habit of underreaction. Somewhere in the crowd, a nervous trill buzzed. Zorvok chuckled. "You arrived just in time. We were about to toast the end of the rebellion." Eli raised his cup slightly. "To peace, then, after the bloodbath." A hush fell like snow. The sentence landed soft, but cold, too deliberate. Zorvok leaned forward. "You've come to plead, I assume. To grovel. Or perhaps demand reparations." "I came to understand," Eli said, stepping further in. "To see who you've become, now that you believe the galaxy belongs to you." The dictator scoffed. "We've always known it did. You just refuse to accept it." Eli smiled again. "That's the thing about humans. We don't really accept much. Especially not finality." Tshyr cleared her throat with a click. There was concern, among certain members of the council, that the executions might provoke undesirable outcomes. Eli tilted his head, as if hearing a melody only he recognized. "Concern is the seed of wisdom. But regret," he said gently, "is its harvest." Zorvok rose from his seat, tall, armored in ceremonial obsidian plates, fangs bared in ceremonial smugness. "Your colonies defied an intergalactic treaty. They sang songs," Eli said softly. "They built weapons. They built homes, schools, libraries. They ignored summons. They were mourning." Zorvok hissed. "They were plotting." Eli took a breath. "They were planting sunflowers." For a moment, no one spoke. Somewhere behind Eli, a low vibration stirred. Not a threat, just the faint murmur of distant movement, like the sound of a match being struck in another room. Zorvok growled. "You think your poets and gardeners can defeat plasma and fleet?" Eli looked up. Something in his gaze shimmered. Not power, not madness, just certainty. "We don't need to defeat you. We only need you to realize that you started a game humans invented." Tshyr's legs twitched again. "What game?" "Vengeance," Eli said. "Ours tends to age in barrels." The council murmured, a wave of unease passing through translators and species. Eli took another sip, savoring the silence like a fine sauce. "You misunderstand your position," Zorvok barked. You are here at our mercy. I know, Eli replied. It's terribly awkward for both of us. The dictator stepped forward, fangs gleaming. You lost 90 million souls. Eli met his gaze, eyes unflinching. Yes. And that was your second mistake. Zorvok blinked. Second. The first, Eli said, was thinking we wouldn't count. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal box, smooth, simple, human-made. He set it on the council table and pressed a single button. A lullaby played. Soft. Innocent. The kind of melody meant for rocking infants to sleep on quiet earth nights. Zorvok snarled. What is this? Some sentimental device? No, Eli said. A metronome. The music ticked in gentle rhythm. Somewhere far away, something echoed it. Do you think we didn't expect this? Eli asked. That we didn't prepare in the event that diplomacy failed. He leaned in. Your mistake wasn't killing our people. It was assuming we hadn't already planned for it. The lullaby stopped. The silence it left behind was somehow louder. Protocol 12, Eli said. TSHYR whispered, what's that? Eli smiled. Nothing urgent. Just the sound of doors closing. On 17 border worlds, human satellites flickered to life. On 12 former colonies, low-frequency beacons activated, broadcasting coded instructions not in human language, but in bioacoustic frequencies tailored specifically for alien sensory systems. Systems designed by humans, installed decades ago during trade assistance missions. Zorvoka's wrist console began to blink, then spark, then melt. You think this will frighten us? He spat. No, Eli said. I think you don't understand what fear really is. That's the thing with apex predators. You only know them after your throat is already gone. In one smooth motion, Eli closed the music box. This isn't war. Not yet. This is an obituary draft. TSHYR trembled. What do you want? Eli looked at her, kind again. Almost sad. We want what everyone wants, counselor. A galaxy where we can bury our dead in peace. Zorvok snarled. And if we refuse? Eli looked down at his watch, tapped it twice. Then we move from mourning to memory. And memory, he said, has a trigger. A faint sound, distant, ancient, began to hum through the chamber walls. A song again, but lower now, like something buried beneath centuries, waking. Zorvok roared, you dare. Eli cut him off, voice calm as dusk. We asked nicely. And then he turned to leave. As the doors parted, the crystalline walls began to glow a faint red, as if responding to some unseen signal. One by one, the counselors turned to their translators. But the words didn't help. The message playing across every channel in the galaxy was only 5 syllables long. Operation Extinction Protocol. The dictator slept in firelight. His private chambers were laced with obsidian beams, scorched black from aesthetic preference, not battle. He said he liked to rest in the smell of something burned. It reminded him, he once explained to a subordinate, of how empires should fall, crisply. A security drone hovered low, sweeping its red beam across the vast room. All was still, save for the dictator's breathing, slow, heavy, arrogant. He did not dream. Not yet. In another chamber, just 3 doors down, Counselor TSHYR could not sleep. Her 8 thin limbs trembled as she replayed the Terran's words from the summit. She'd lived through 5 species collapses in her lifetime. None had unnerved her like a man offering lullabies as warning. She reviewed the data again. 1 small box. A children's song. And then the glow. Protocol 12, she whispered, mandibles clicking together in thought. Not a missile. Not a fleet. Something deeper. Quieter. She tapped into her neural console and requested encryption bypasses from the archive. Denied. Twice. On the 3rd attempt, the system responded in an unrecognized Earth dialect, Old English, perhaps. The response chilled her. Ask forgiveness, not permission. Eli's voice echoed back in her mind. This isn't war. Not yet. She closed her console, trembling. Something had shifted in the room, though she couldn't name it. Not air. Not heat. Presence. Elsewhere, orbiting the 4th moon of Veltraxis. Admiral Haas of the Drenari Confederation stood aboard the Vigil of Ash. He was large even by Drenari standards, 6 eyes, 4 arms, and the heart of a military realist. Haas had never respected humans. Not until this week. A junior officer approached. "Sir, we have a report." Haas didn't turn. "More data flickers?" "Yes. But this time a signature." Repeating. He finally turned. "Let me hear it." The signal crackled into the room. At first, it sounded like static. Then chords. Melodic. A slow string pattern, followed by a distant voice, unmistakably human. "Hush now, child. The stars still weep. The fire's cold, but graves don't sleep." "What is this?" the officer asked. "A song," Haas muttered. "A dirge. Old Earth funeral rites." The officer paled. "They're broadcasting grief?" Haas's voice dropped. "No. They're indexing it. They're cataloging memory." The officer hesitated. "Sir, do we escalate?" The admiral gave the order without raising his voice. "No. We withdraw." But the dictator said, "Let Zorvok choke on his own bravado. I will not stand on the bones of a species preparing for something ancient." The command sent ripples through their chain. Dozens of Drenari vessels adjusted course subtly, quietly, sliding away from conflict as a shadow recedes at dawn. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Galactic Axis capital, Zorvok rose late, annoyed by minor disruptions in palace systems. His breakfast arrived lukewarm. His risk and soul wouldn't sink. His favorite general didn't report for morning insult. He blamed it all on Earth. "Their software contaminates everything," he muttered, flinging the console across the room. A servant, trembling, offered him a backup. The dictator snarled, "I want silence, and full security diagnostics by dusk." The servant bowed and fled, nearly tripping over her own tail. In the communications wing, transmissions buzzed from 12 sectors, each reporting minor anomalies. Timed silence, power drops, biological responses among alien staff. Nothing aggressive, nothing loud, just wrong. Zorvok convened a private war session with his inner circle. He paced. The humans are flailing. Their numbers are shattered. Their systems are primitive. One general nodded too quickly. Another didn't look up. Zorvok stopped. "Speak." The science minister, pale and feathered, coughed lightly. "There are rumors, Supreme One." "Rumors bore me. They say the humans left something behind. On every colony. Not machines. Not soldiers." Zorvok narrowed his eyes. "Then what?" The minister hesitated. "Seeds." There was silence, then a snort of derision. "Agricultural." "No," the minister said. "Symbolic." The dictator's tail lashed the air. "I will not be baited by metaphor." And yet, when he returned to his chamber, he found something that hadn't been there before. A single white flower. On his pillow. Planted in soil. Rich, dark earth soil. From a planet he thought extinguished. He crushed it without ceremony. But he didn't sleep that night. That evening, Eli appeared again, not in person, but on every diplomatic channel across 3 sectors. Same wrinkled suit. Same cup of tea. But his voice was calmer now. Detached. "Apologies for the interruption," he said. "I just wanted to clarify." He sipped. "Humanity isn't coming. We're already here." Zorvok roared in private fury. "How?" "Their fleets are dead." Eli smiled through the screen. "We stopped building fleets decades ago. Too loud. Too primitive. We built roots instead." The dictator struck the comm unit with his claw. It sparked then died. He didn't call for repairs. He was starting to hear music in the walls. Elsewhere in the observatory, atop the Axis library, Counselor TSHYR sat in silence, watching ships disappear. Not explode, disappear. As if history were quietly reclaiming them. She reached for her console again, heart pounding. This time, it let her in. She opened a restricted archive. A classified Terran document left behind during a past summit. One she dismissed as obsolete. The file was audio only. "This is Admiral Sarai of Earth Strategic Division. If you are hearing this, we are already mourning. You have hanged our children. You will now understand what it means to wake a memory we swore to forget. Operation Extinction Protocol initiated. Phase 1. Let them speak. Phase 2. Let them laugh. Phase 3. Let them realize. TSHYR sat back, breath stilled. She remembered Eli's phrase. We asked nicely. At that very moment, on a distant moon base used by exoscientists to test Terran DNA reactivity, the lights blinked out. The door locks melted. The AI systems turned to static, and then, in sequence, began playing birthday songs. Earth birthday songs. But none of the scientists on base had been born human. Zor-Vok summoned his generals again. This time, fewer arrived. He demanded answers. Where is our countermeasure? Where is our retaliation? A trembling officer finally said it. Sir, retaliation requires we understand the threat. We don't. The dictator pounded a claw into the table. Then what do we do? From the shadows of the chamber, a quiet voice spoke up. A strategist, old, blind in one eye, born on a war-torn asteroid long before Zor-Vok claimed his crown. We prepare for extinction. Zor-Vok turned slowly. Say that again. The strategist didn't blink. You pulled the lion's tail. And now you want to build a fence. You can't fence regret. You sit with it. Zor-Vok screamed and ordered him executed. But the guards didn't move. Because they were already dead. The transmission system flared again. Eli's face returned, softly lit. Still gentle. But his voice had shed its mirth. You believed we had no teeth, he said. That was your third mistake. Zor-Vok stood frozen. Eli leaned forward, looking directly into the lens, as if into Zor-Vok's skull. We don't bear them unless it's the last thing you'll see. The feed cut. No signal followed. Just an echo. Just the faint hum of something beneath the floor, rising. The dictator turned toward the sound, alone in his throne room, as the red lights dimmed to black and the flower he'd crushed hours earlier bloomed again at his feet. The first world went quiet at dawn. No blast. No scream. Just silence. One moment, the commerce station above Vulcan, 3 bustled with traffic and chatter and bureaucratic arrogance. The next, everything flickered, as if some ancient fuse had snapped in the galaxy's spine. When engineers checked the diagnostic core, they found no sign of sabotage, no virus, no code. Only one message burned faintly in a secondary processor, written in old Terran glyphs. This isn't a war. It's awake. TSHYR read the report with a trembling claw. The Vulcan station was now inert. Not destroyed, preserved. Like a corpse arranged for viewing. The elevators still moved. The lights stayed dim but operational. The communications lines played a soft loop of Earthbird song. They hadn't struck it. They had mourned it. She closed her eyes. What are they doing? They're grieving, said a voice behind her. Eli Mercer stood in the observation dome, hands folded politely behind his back, tea steaming faintly from the cup he carried like a holy relic. His clothes were cleaner today, pressed, a navy coat with worn silver buttons. But his eyes were deeper, not angrier, just older. She turned to him slowly. You've come again. He sipped. It's tradition, to revisit the dead. This station isn't dead. He gave a soft smile. Neither were the 90 million. TSHYR tilted her head. You're not retaliating. No, Eli said. We're remembering. She moved closer, her multiple limbs twitching with unease. You're disabling worlds. Without violence. How? We designed your vulnerabilities. 2 centuries ago. Back when you were still categorizing us as semi-sentient. We upgraded your defenses, she protested. Eli raised a brow. Which we provided you. She froze. His voice dropped, calm and quiet, as though he were telling a bedtime story. You taught us how to disappear, and we thank you by learning how to haunt. She lowered her voice. Then why speak with me at all? Because you were the only one who hesitated. That night, in the chamber. I didn't stop it, but you flinched. They stood in silence, watching the stars dim across the Vulcan system as other stations powered down, one by one. No screams. No alarms. Just stillness. On a far moon in the Tyrex quadrant, a military outpost reported strange atmospheric interference. It began as music, old jazz, drifting through environmental vents. Then came the sand. Red grains, distinctly Earth-based, laced with DNA not native to the sector. Each grain encoded with memories, recordings of lullabies, children's voices, laughter. The base fell silent 2 hours later, without a single shot fired. General Sorvok of the Stan Armada reviewed the surveillance in stunned quiet. "They're not fighting us," he muttered. "They're eulogizing us." His aide asked, "Should we strike back?" "With what?" Sorvok snapped. "They aren't attacking. They're erasing." Another report arrived. The entire archives of the Axis University had been overwritten with poetry. No virus, no intrusion. Just poems. All Terran. All handwritten in digital ink. Some sad. Some angry. Most just quiet. A single haiku appeared on every screen. "They buried us deep, not knowing we were the kind to grow roots in ash." In the Dictator's throne hall, Zorvok paced like a trapped predator, snarling at holograms flickering with the names of ghosted planets. "They want us to feel guilty," he spat. "They want us to bow." The counselors around him stayed silent. "Speak," he roared. "I will not be undone by a species who names their weapons after saints and songs." A strategist cleared his throat. "With respect, Supreme One, it's not guilt they're triggering. It's memory. Their tactics strike below strategy. This is ritual." Zorvoka's claws raked his armrest. "Then we strike back with ritual of our own. Burn something ancient. Make them feel it." "They already feel everything," the strategist said. "That's the problem." Zorvok ordered 3 colony purges that day. The fleets never reached orbit. Somewhere deep in the crust of abandoned mining colonies, dormant Terran beacons blinked to life. Not with weapons, but stories. The walls of tunnels began to glow with projected holograms. Grandmothers in rocking chairs, children dancing in snow, couples holding hands in hospital beds. Entire alien crews watched in silence as humanity's greatest vulnerability, their unbearable capacity to love, poured through steel and rock and code. "We assumed they were soft," a Commarian ambassador whispered into his comms, "but softness can seep through stone." Another world dimmed. Then another. None destroyed. Just hushed. As if the universe itself were asked to lower its voice. In the great diplomatic chamber, empty now of most counselors, TSHYR met Eli again, this time under the starlight of a shattered dome. "I tried to warn them," she said. "I know. They said you'd retaliate like animals." "We did." She looked confused. "We just grieve like strategists." He handed her a folded note. She opened it. A child's drawing. Crayon and paper. A crude house. 2 stick figures. A sun with smiling rays. She traced it with one clawed finger. "Who made this?" Eli's voice softened. "My son. They hung him on Colony Redreach." She looked at him. "And you didn't scream?" He shook his head. "Screaming is for when someone might hear you." A long pause. "What happens next?" she asked. Eli gazed at the void, where the Axis fleet once glittered. "Next," he said, "we attend the funeral." The last satellite of Zorvoka's inner defense ring blinked out 2 days later. No weapon. Just a cold message carved into its outer shell. In memoriam. 90 million stars extinguished. We brought flowers. And they had. Orbiting every fallen world now floated strange capsules, spherical, chrome, Terran design. Inside each, seeds, saplings, and soil. Some alien commanders called them taunts. Others called them graves. But humans called them gardens. The Dictator refused to look at them. But his generals whispered. His admirals defected. Even his assassins began receiving Earth poetry in their sleep feeds. One slit his own throat whispering the word forgiveness. Zorvok held one final broadcast. "People of the galaxy," he boomed, "do not be deceived. Humanity is weak. Humanity is broken. Their tears are not strength." Eli Mercer appeared in split screen. He didn't argue. He simply stared. And the Dictator, for the first time, looked away first. "I know how this ends," Zorvok whispered later to himself in the empty echo of the council hall. I've read human books. He closed his eyes. This is Act 3. On Earth, where the skies once glowed with morning bands, the stars had gone quiet. There were no parades, no threats, no cheers. Only a wall of names, stretching from the Arctic station to the Amazon vault, carved one letter at a time by volunteers. No soldier, no flag, just names, and beneath each, one phrase. They deserved a quieter world. Eli Mercer stood beneath that wall, with a child's crayon drawing in his coat pocket and 1,000 systems bowing without a bullet. He looked up. One last name remained uncarved. Zorvok. Not yet written. But there was room. The galaxy held its breath. Across hundreds of systems, lights dimmed, ports closed, and entire fleets lingered in stasis, not due to attack, but paralysis. A silence not from surrender, but anticipation. As if the stars themselves knew something ancient was rising, something long buried beneath Earth's velvet manners and charming smiles. In the throne chamber of the galactic axis, Zorvok stood motionless before a wall of failing screens. They blinked like dying eyes, every one once filled with surveillance feeds, now overwritten by a simple phrase looping in all major dialects. Operation. Extinction protocol active. Status report, he growled, voice ragged. No reply. Not because they feared him, but because no one remained to answer. His advisors had vanished. His security system hummed softly, awaiting orders from a command line that no longer recognized his voice. Even his warship, Dread Sovereign, sat inert in orbit, dead and drifting, an empty tomb. He turned, half expecting Eli Mercer to be standing there again with that infuriating calm, that infernal tea. He wasn't. But his voice came through the intercom, smooth as dusk. We told you. This was never war. This was ritual. Zorvok drew his ceremonial blade, plasma-infused, forged in the heart of dying stars, named after his ancestors. A weapon built to inspire fear. No one was watching. The voice continued. You committed a massacre, believing it would be final. You mistook stillness for defeat. You executed 90 million humans, and we let you. Because the moment you pulled that lever, you made our vengeance lawful. Zorvok screamed and slashed at the nearest console. Sparks showered the floor. The voice faded briefly, then returned, unchanged. Your capital is surrounded not by ships, but by silence. Every gate closed. Every frequency co-opted. We didn't bring a fleet. We brought memory. He staggered toward the exit, blade raised. The doors slid open, and there Eli stood, in the flesh. No guards, no armor, just the same coat, the same stillness, and in one hand, the music box. Zorvok lunged with a roar. Eli didn't flinch. He simply stepped aside. The Dictator's blade struck the wall behind him, embedding itself uselessly into the alloy. Don't mistake performance for threat, Eli said quietly. We already wrote the ending. Zorvok turned, panting. You're just one man. Eli nodded. Exactly. He walked into the chamber, without invitation. The doors closed behind him with a soft click that echoed louder than any gunfire. I'm not here to kill you, Zorvok. Then what is this? The Dictator spat. You've crippled half the galaxy. Your colonies are graveyards. What do you want? We want you to live long enough to understand, Eli said. We want you to stand where we stood, in the silence, in the ash, with no voice responding. He set the music box down on the central console and opened it. The lullaby played again, soft, slow, unbearably human. You can destroy a city, Eli said, but you cannot unburn a name. You can crush a people, but you cannot outrun the soil they've touched. Zorvok's blade wavered in his hand. You're not soldiers. You're nothing. Exactly, Eli said again, smiling. We were civilians, teachers, gardeners, children. You didn't defeat an army. You ignited one. The screen behind them blinked once. A map. A quiet one. No blinking red dots, no enemy markers, just coordinates. Zorvok squinted. What am I looking at? Graves, Eli said. Unmarked ones. Scattered across your empire. We planted them before the treaties. Before first contact. Planted what? Eli took a breath, the only time he looked tired. Proof. The map zoomed in on a facility deep beneath the surface of Yaltraxis Prime, one of the Dictator's hidden strongholds. Cameras fed into the Council's archives confirmed it. Humans had recorded everything. Every atrocity. Every purge. Every order signed by Zorvoka's clawed hand. Not just executed. Preserved. Archived in redundancy across systems. Enough for 1,000 tribunals. You wanted to be remembered as a conqueror, Eli said. Now you'll be remembered as a cautionary tale. Zorvok roared and threw his blade. It passed through the holomap and struck the music box, snapping it in two. The music stopped. And for the first time, Eli looked almost disappointed. Shame, he said softly. That was my daughter's favorite song. Zorvok charged again. This time Eli moved, not to fight but to sidestep. The Dictator slammed into the console, scrambling for leverage. Then the chamber lights shifted. Not red, not white, but gold. Zorvok froze. The symbol on the floor beneath him changed, no longer his empire's crest, but the Earth Federation seal, a tree with 12 roots and 90 stars woven through its branches. Eli walked toward the center of the room. You built an empire on fear. We build a garden on loss. And in the end, Zorvok, roots always outlast fire. The console lit up again. Eli keyed in a sequence. All across the Axis worlds, monuments began to rise, on their own. Towering structures, formed of carbon memory and earth-grown alloys. Each one bore the same engraving in every language. Here stood a world that forgot empathy. The humans remembered for them. They'll tear them down, Zorvok hissed. Eli gave a sad smile. They'll try. But we planted them in the hearts of your people. Every scientist, every janitor, every singer who tuned your operas. They were us. They've always been us. Zorvok collapsed to one knee. You infiltrated us? We grieved inside your walls, Eli said. For generations. Silence stretched between them. And then Eli pulled one final item from his coat pocket. A list. He set it down in front of the broken Dictator. What is this? Zorvok rasped. A count, Eli said, of everyone you killed. In alphabetical order. Cross-referenced by relation. Read it. We left space at the bottom. For what? Zorvok asked bitter. For your name. The lights dimmed again. The chamber fell still. Eli turned and walked away, leaving the list on the console beside the shattered box. As the doors closed behind him, Zorvok did not roar, did not curse. He simply looked down at the paper. And for the first time in his life, he read,